Well, good morning and welcome everybody to 2019. At least 2019 on the East Coast. This is a first for me. Welcome to my 2018 year in review. I've been doing these year in reviews on YouTube every year since I believe 2012. I might have one from 2011, but I have to go back and look. And I think even before that, I was doing them on my blog, which is still around, by the way. If anybody wanted to go to kd6cae.livejournal.com, they could take a look at it. So this is where I come in and I kind of highlight some of the significant events that happened both with me and in the news. Although this year I think it's mainly going to be things that happened with me. Especially as we get toward the end of the year in 2018. Because believe me, if you told me a year ago that I was going to be doing this review from a location on the East Coast, I would have probably laughed at you. I wouldn't have believed you. Although I had thought about going to Florida, visiting friends in Florida as early as February of this year. But that never ended up working out. But things would happen later in the year. So, as we like to do, we'll try and do this chronologically. No guarantees we'll stick that way, but we'll try and go that way. So, you know, as usually is the case during the winter, I didn't do much in January and February of this year, 2018. Last year, God, I can't believe I'm saying last year, this year. Just wait till I have to write the date for the first time. So, in 2018, January, February, as per usual, pretty quiet months. March saw a nice little surprise. I went ahead and I got invited to go to the Los Angeles County Air Show. I got to thank my friend Clay for that. That was a nice surprise. I had been to it once before, back in 2016, when I went with my good friend Kira. But, you know, out of the blue, Clay called me up and he says, "Hey, I'm planning on going to the air show. Do you want to come?" Keep in mind, I'm 90 miles away. And I was like, "Sure, let me just give me time to get down there on the bus system." He's like, "Don't worry about that. I'll come pick you up." I'm like, "Okay." You know, I gave him gas money and he came and picked me up, sure enough. I was like, "Hey, that worked out nicely." So I spent the weekend with him, and we went to the Los Angeles County Air Show, which was held at Fox Field Airport, as it has been for the last, I think they started that in either 2014 or 2015. They used to hold it at Edwards Air Force Base, but they haven't done that in years. So that was probably the big event in March. And then another couple of months went by, you know. I went to the mall a few times, you know, nothing too major. And then in April, actually, I did the first of two trips to go visit my friend Robert up in Reno. I went up there April, oh God, when did I go up there? Middle of April, I believe it was. I went up there and actually stayed at one of my favorite places to visit in Reno. Went to the Nugget Hotel and Casino, same place where the ACB convention was held in 2011 and 2017. That's of course why I went there, because it's a great hotel, a great place to stay when you're in the Reno area. And I ended up staying even longer than I planned. After my time ran out at the Nugget, I got to stay with Robert and the family there in their tiny little place of residence over there for, oh God, I think I was there about a week, maybe a week and a half. And that was really cool. Got to hang out with Robert and several of the family members that were up there. And then that was pretty much the highlight of April. So I went up and did the train trip up and back to Bakersfield. And May was pretty quiet. June also kind of quiet, but I was starting to think about what I wanted to do for the summer. Originally, I wanted to go to visit. I wanted to go to the NFB convention in Orlando because I've been dying to go to Florida since I went in 2009, and I've been every month during the early part of the year. I was trying to figure out how I would, pull it off. And as you're going to find out here in a little bit, I found a way to pull it off. But we're not there yet. In July, I would make a second trip to Reno. I was originally going to go visit my brother in San Diego. In fact, I tried a few different times over the summer to go visit my brother and family down in San Diego. But every time I would try, something would come up on their end that would prevent me from going down there. So I never got to go to San Diego at all in 2018. Because believe me, had I gone to San Diego, there would have also been a border crossing, or at least an attempt at a border crossing. Because I just love taking that trolley ride down there. See the 2016 and 2017 year in reviews, if you want to know more. So there was no trip to San Diego this year, but I did get to do something really cool during my July trip to Reno. I got to go to a drive-in movie theater. Yes, they still exist sporadically. I didn't think they existed at all anymore, but when I went up to visit Robert in July, I was informed that, in fact, there was a drive-in movie theater in nearby Sparks, Nevada, which is the next city next door to Reno. And so, of course, I had to check that out. And we went and saw a double feature, late night double feature. We saw Skyscraper and The First Purge, both of which excellent movies, both of which I now have in my digital movie collection. So I'm glad I saw those. And it was really cool to go to the drive-in and, kind of watch the movies the way you did back in the 80s. I had only ever done that, I think, one other time back in the 80s, and I barely remember it. I think me and my foster parents did it sometime in like 88 or 89. I don't even remember where it was. I don't remember if we had any movie theaters in Palmdale, or if I was probably down in LA somewhere when we did that, because I don't see Palmdale as being a place that would have that kind of stuff. Maybe it did back then, but anyway, so that was actually really cool. Getting to do that, and once again getting to hang out with people that I consider family. I mean, they're really like the family that I should have had from my younger years. Robert and his daughter Destiny and their mother Monica, and basically everybody that I've come to know over the years, I've become really good friends with, and I absolutely love getting a chance to visit with them whenever I can. So I got to do it twice in 3 months. I thought that was pretty cool. And in fact, for the July trip, Robert actually came and he was down in Palmdale doing some family business down there. So he came and got me, and we went up to Reno for, I think I was up there for another couple of weeks, or maybe it was just a week. Anyway, that was July of 2018 for me. And then we get to the month of August. August itself wasn't all that exciting, except for one big thing. And actually, I'm going to bring in my, this is the first, by the way, I have a co-host, a periodic co-host for this year in review, and you're going to see why a little bit. But I'm going to bring her in for the first time. Her name is Celeste, and she is right over here, and you probably can't see her because we're purposely in a dark room, because I always do these reviews in a dark room. But
picking out cameras to go in a dark room.
Yeah, exactly. The old school cameras, that's right. So the reason Celeste is significant here is that she does an internet radio show. And this internet radio show is called Flashback Friday. It's on every Friday on theqonline.net if you really want to listen to it.
From 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. Eastern.
Right, I got to put the plug in there, So she...
And I'm Celeste, by the way.
Yeah, that voice you hear, that's Celeste. That's not my alter ego. That is, in fact, Celeste. So I've known her since 2009. We met at the 2009 ACB convention, which is so far her only convention that she's been to, in Orlando. Her and a friend, she was the roommate of another friend of mine from Canada named Jesse. And we met there at the convention,
We had dinner.
and we had dinner that night that we met, and it was an awesome, dinner, and I hung out with Jesse and her, and that was the only time we had met.
And then Monty here has, we sporadically talked over the years. He joined me all night on an old radio show I did back in 2013.
Mm-hmm.
And then he found me again in 2015 when I was on another station that had some really cool jingles.
Yes, and it was
And playing Alphabet Soup.
yeah, which is a type
But-
of radio game, but
But the thing is, he basically showed up and then disappeared.
yeah, I would come and go.
Finally, he shows up on the Friday morning, Friday, August 10th.
Yep.
And joined me for the show. And I'm like, wow, I sort of, I knew who he was, but it took me by surprise. It's
Yeah,
like,
you couldn't forget me. I mean, I left you quite an impression all those years ago. So we get on I talked to her during her radio show, and then
a couple of days later, I decided to look at his Twitter just to see what he's been up to.
Mm-hmm.
And I saw here that Monty needed a picture of his photo ID to
Yeah,
send somewhere.
I had to send in a picture of my photo ID for some documentation for PayPal. They're very security conscious. They needed proof that I was who I said I was, which is understandable in this day and age. But the trick was I had nobody around that could reliably
Take a picture.
I mean, yes, my sister was, well, even she wasn't around very much because she'd be visiting her friend. And even then, she wouldn't have the patience to take the kind of picture that I needed. So I'm like, well, how am I going to do this? And then she told me about Ira. Now, I actually knew about Ira from the previous year's convention when I was in Reno. I went to a presentation of theirs. But the thing that turned me off about Ira was the price. It was very pricey. It still is kind of pricey, even with the updated plans they came out with late last year. But Celeste kind of reassured me, kind of showed me how they worked, what you could use them for. And she's like, if you really need a picture of your ID, because I was by myself at this point. My sister wasn't around. She was visiting her friend. And I'm like, well, how am I going to get this done? I want to do it the sooner the better. She's like, well, yeah, just, sign up with Ira. I can refer you. And you get your first month free. I'm like, well, gee, if that's the case, I can't go wrong there. And if worse comes to worse, I can just cancel it. If I absolutely hate it and it didn't work out or I couldn't do it, why not? So I have nothing to lose. So
I got on FaceTime with him, I think.
Yeah, you did. We talked on
audio.
FaceTime for 4 hours, I think.
At least 3, 4. Only thing that stopped us was I had a
You had
meeting
a station
at the
meeting
online.
to go to, yeah. So we chatted for a while, and I got.
And within that time, he signed up and did his onboarding call.
Yeah,
and got his picture.
Yep, and my onboarding call, that's the call. Remember, there's people that are going to be watching this that aren't going to know what an onboarding call is.
All right, go and explain.
The
it to them.
onboarding call is like your first initial training call, if you will. They show you how to use the service, tell you what it can be used for, and
you set up your profile.
you set up your
and stuff.
profile and the way you want things. Like if you want your directions spoken as north, south, east, west, or like degrees, like 80 degrees, 180 degrees, 90 degrees, that
Or
sort
like,
of thing.
it's at 10 o'clock, 2 o'clock.
Right. If you want your directions left, right, or your clock face, that kind of thing. They tell you in your profile, it shows like if you're a guide dog user, cane traveler, that sort of
If
thing.
you have any food allergies.
Right, so they can make a note of that, so they can help you out when you need it, and they know already, because that pops up whenever you call them. They know what to look at. So the first thing I did with that Ira call, because you get that first 30 minutes free as it's your first onboarding call. So I used that to get that ID picture taken, and it was perfect. I got it sent off to PayPal later that day, and everything was fine after that. And it was just like a relief. It was like empowering. It's like I could have never done this without Ira at all. I mean, having basically on-demand sighted assistance, totally invaluable. Absolutely, in the
And
past.
later on here, you would really see what this service can do.
Oh yeah.
We'll get to that later.
I'm getting to that. I'll be getting to that here in a little bit. So, I get Ira.
And so he gets Ira.
I get Ira, and basically I go about my.
And we keep in touch. He's gotten my archives at this point.
Oh yeah, I one thing I did do when I was talking to Celeste, I grabbed all of her. I was amazed she was willing to send these to me. All of her internet radio archives.
In Dropbox.
Over 250 gigabytes of internet radio shows of various types, mainly hers, but also other people's that are around. So we do all that, and then we get, now things start to begin to get interesting. I'm not going to go into all of the nitty gritty about this next little bit, but basically things were starting to get hairy with my sister, and I'm like, okay, things were going on a personal level that were not good, and I wanted to get away from there. And like I said earlier, I'd been trying to find a way to go to the East Coast all year. You know, my original thought was I'll go to visit my brother in San Diego and then fly to Florida, because I really wanted to go to Florida, visit a couple friends down there. And so my thought was I'll go to San Diego, visit my family down there, possibly go to Mexico, and then go out to Florida from San Diego, fly out there. I'd already looked into it. It looked possible, but I could never get to San Diego. My people down there just weren't around when I needed them to be. So I then thought of a crazy idea. I'm like, well, I've never taken a cross-country Amtrak trip, and I am an Amtrak Guest Rewards member, so why not build up the points? And it might even be a little cheaper than an airplane flight anyway. And I'm not on any kind of timetable, so I can leave whenever I want and stay gone for however long I want. So I started to plan this rather ambitious trip. I think I started planning it around the later part of August, maybe like the 20th of August or so. I started kind of putting the pieces together. The plan would be I'd go visit my friend Vicky down in Florida, and then my good friend Kira, and then, you know, go up the coast from there and visit other people in other areas. And I forget where or when, but somehow did I come up with the idea, Celeste? But somehow the idea of me coming to visit you comes up while I'm planning this.
Well, I think what it was is you knew you had a bunch of friends on the East Coast that you hadn't either seen in years or ever met.
Mm-hmm.
And you wanted to come visit them all because you had, you know, your friends in Florida, you had friends in New York.
Yep.
And I think I mentioned, you know, where I was in relation to New York.
Right, and you're like, you're not that far. That's what it was, because you're like, you know, she's like, well, I'm not too far. I'm just a few hours from there. And I'm like, ooh, well, this could work. So I think while I was, now this is where it gets a little fuzzy, this first part. I don't remember if I was still planning.
I think we hadn't had to set a definite date.
Right.
But
We hadn't set anything before I left California, I don't think.
I don't think. I know you left California and got on the train.
Right.
I thought of getting to Florida.
Right. That part was set in stone.
Then, because I chatted with you after you got to Florida.
Oh, that's right. That's right. So I start planning the Florida portion of this. And, of course, the way I plan things, I take it as I go. You know, I plan the parts of my trip that I know I can plan, and then I go from there. So Vicky and I had already made arrangements, and I pretty much had also made arrangements with Kira as well. So things were looking good. Florida was a definite thing. I was still working on visiting folks in New York, but that would come later. So I finally had a timetable. My plan was to go on Amtrak and take the Southwest Chief train from Los Angeles to Chicago, because from Bakersfield to LA it's a bus, and then I would go LA to Chicago, Chicago to Washington DC, DC to Florida on that first part of the train trip. So it was going to be a very exciting train trip, and the only other thing I had to decide was, when do I want to leave? Well, the best time to leave is, well, right after I get paid. I mean, what better time to leave? So on September the 4th, I leave. I actually leave Bakersfield. I take an Uber down for the short 5-mile trip to the Amtrak station there in Bakersfield, a station I've been to many, many times, probably dozens of times. And I get on the bus going to LA. And in LA, I had a little bit of a layover there. I actually got some food to eat while I was down there. I remember getting, I think I got some Subway, because that's what I usually get when I go to LA. And at 6 o'clock that evening, I was on the Southwest Chief, bound for Chicago. and the journey, the big adventure of the year was in its beginning stages. We would go through California, Arizona, New Mexico, Colorado, and I got to see basically how far the train would go before the fuel stops. And we can go quite a way. I think the first leg was LA to Kingman before we had to refuel. And then I think it was Kingman to Albuquerque, New Mexico, before we refueled again. And of course there were train stops in the middle, but this is how long you could go. Imagine if cars could go this long. I mean, we're talking probably a good 700-800 miles
at
a
that,
shot.
Folks. He didn't make it to Mexico, but he did make it to
New Mexico. Yeah, I know. So close yet so far. They didn't even ask me for my passport in New Mexico. What can I say? So anyway, we get further along. You know, I go through the Midwest. I go right through Kansas City and Missouri. I don't remember if I went through St. Louis. I think I did. I have to look back at my log of my check-ins that I do to see where I went. But it was a fun journey. I mean, I kept looking at the cellular telephone coverage and just having a great old time on the train. It was a really nice trip all the way down, and I got to Chicago on, what would that be, the 6th of September, I think it was?
So you left on the 4th.
I left the evening of the 4th, and so I know I was there.
I think you got there, yeah, it's this, was the 7th, because it was 7th was a Friday.
The 7th, well, the 7th I would have been in D.C., so I had to go from Chicago to D.C. on the second train.
Well, maybe you got to Chicago maybe on the 6th.
On the 6th, that's what I think. And then so I went to, after that...
That's right, because you went to D.C. I'm thinking, because you got to Florida on Saturday the 8th.
Yes, that's correct.
But that's because, well, I'll let you...
Yeah, I'm getting there. So I get to Chicago, and everything is smooth there. I get on my train going to D.C., and I get to go through Ohio and parts of Pennsylvania, a little bit of Delaware and Maryland, and go down through, I think, parts of West Virginia. And then I come into, then I get into D.C., and I actually end up getting into D.C. 3 hours later than planned, which causes me to miss my original train to Florida. I was originally supposed to be on a 3 p.m. train to Florida. Well, since I didn't even get there till like close to 4 o'clock, but thanks to being very much delayed, I ended up getting on a 9:30 p.m. train out of, which was the final train of the day going to Florida. So basically, instead of having a 1 hour layover in D.C., I had about a 7 hour layover. I think it was closer to 7.5. Wish I would have known that, man. I would have tried to say hello to Donald Trump. Or maybe not. But it was raining, I remember, when I got to D.C. And then we got on our train to D.C., and I went right through a couple of areas that I might be revisiting. I'll talk more about that later. Went right through Richmond, Virginia. Went right through North Carolina, South Carolina, on into Georgia. And finally got to Orlando, Florida, and was on to the final bus to Tampa by Saturday afternoon. And my first visit was to my good friend Vicky, who I met on a internet chat group back when the Roger app existed, if you remember that app from ages ago. That's how we originally met. And we have met at a couple of the conventions that I've been to. Vicky and I, that is. So Vicky and I, we had a great time in Florida. Oh my gosh, Vicky's house is amazing. I didn't want to leave. I mean, they are very accommodating. Vicky and her husband Ricky are absolutely wonderful hosts. Very big house. Absolutely.
If you're obsessed with Amazon Echoes, that's the place.
Oh yeah, if you want to see the Amazon Echo in action, that place is where you want to go. There's about no less than 5 of them in that house. In fact, I think Vicky...
I mean, she could open up an Echo museum.
She practically could, yeah. She's got Echoes that aren't even made anymore, like the Echo Tap, that you can't even get anymore. She's got 2 of those. And she's got some Echo Dots and regular Echoes, and I forget where everything is, but basically, no matter where you are in the house, you can holler some kind of wake word and something will respond.
Yeah, enjoy saying these wake words while you can.
Yes, yes. Alexa, Amazon, computer. Yeah, might as well say them all because, yeah. So yeah, it was great hanging out with them. I went to their church service. In fact, we even had a baptism service at her house on September the 15th. I don't think I tweeted much that day because I was busy recording the event. They were originally going to do the baptism service at the beach, but because of in 2018, one of the big things that kind of put a damper on Florida beach plans for anybody in Southwest Florida was red tide, which is like a toxic algae that kind of took hold of the coastline, especially the Gulf Coast of Florida, which is where we were. So it was decided, because Vicky has a swimming pool, and a pretty big one at that, so it was decided, well, why not have the baptism service here at my place, Vicky's place. And so that was done on September the 15th, and we had an awesome service. And great people.
I even FaceTimed him while he was at Vicky's and he showed me the echoes.
Oh yes, I demonstrated all the different games, and I think that's what made her want to get an Echo. I don't know if you wanted an Echo before that. We're going to be getting to that here before this thing is over. But I think after I showed you the Echo live, I think you wanted one after that.
Yes.
If you didn't want one before, you wanted one after I gave you a live demonstration. Because you could use that thing as an intercom and just so much more. It's amazing. So that was my time at Vicky's. Then it was time, reluctantly, I had to go, move on to my next adventure. Believe me, though, I could have moved into Vicky's. I was having so much fun over there. But they want their guest house. They want to have their guest bedroom. So, and plus they were expecting company. I think a couple weeks after I left. So, had to give it back to them. So I went over to my good friend Kira's, and just had another awesome time. Didn't do much, but that's because they have a big family, including a little one. So you're not going to do too much. But I still had fun. I mean, I got to go to the beach in Florida. I got to see how warm the ocean in Florida is in the summertime. And
didn't she take you on a boat ride?
Oh no, that was Vicky. That was back at Vicky's that I did that boat ride. I almost forgot. How dare I forget the boat ride? In fact, that was just before the barbecue that we had. That was on September 10th. Vicky and I and Ricky went on this sunset cruise boat ride that they do at the Ponta Gorda Fisherman's Market, like the dock that's there. The cruises leave from there and they go out on the Peace River. And, you just go on the river and you get to, be on the river and photograph your sunset. And here's something kind of cool. Vicky got to drive the boat on the way back.
Wow.
I let her do her thing. I did not go up there with her. Or heaven knows, I might have been able to drive the boat too. But I stayed in the cabin on the main upper deck of the boat. That was my first ever boat ride, by the way, doing that sunset cruise. It was a beautiful night that night. Very peaceful along the Peace River. And I couldn't see the sunset, but I can only imagine how beautiful it must have been. You're out away from land,
Well, see, this is a time you should have called up Isla.
Right. Why didn't I think to do that? It's funny. You don't think about doing that until, after the fact. Because that totally would have been useful. And I didn't even think about it. And I should have. Well, I'll be getting to that. And more about Ira in a little bit. So I did my first boat ride. Loved it. I would definitely do it again. I make it down to the tropical climate again. And God, I hope I do. And to be honest, I hope to actually maybe one day live down there. That would be awesome. So after Vicky's and the boat ride and the awesome church services that I went to and everything else, the next place on my adventures was to go visit my good friend Kira, who had been in Florida for about a year by this point, but obviously I hadn't been down there to see her. Remember, this trip to the East Coast was my first time on the East Coast at all since 2009, when I last went to Florida. How about that? So, and by this point, I'm also trying to coordinate with my friend Patrick up in New York. I'm trying to coordinate, trying to figure out time to go see him. Because I'm like, well, he's about as geeky as I am as far as internet and networking, and he's got a fiber optic internet connection, and we were hoping to be able to do go to some of the places that are awesome to go to in New York City, like the Empire State Building and Ground Zero, the old World Trade Center site, where such historic tragedy occurred back 17 and a half years ago. Well, originally I was going to do that. Let me think now. I think I was originally going to go there on
October the 12th.
the 5th or 12th or something like that. I think it was originally going to be the 5th, and then we pushed it up to the 12th, or we tried to do that, and then he found out that the 19th would be better. And then actually, as it ended up turning out, it actually would have been better had I gone on the 12th, because his girlfriend that would have taken us on the excursions had to work on the 19th onward and not on the 12th. But we didn't know that until it was too late. It's a problem with booking flights. You can't exactly do that last minute. In fact, I would end up booking my flight over there on like the 2nd of October, I think, is when I finally did that.
And around that time, when Monty and I were still talking, he shows me a little program called AnyDVD.
Oh, yes, AnyDVD.
And tandemed into my computer, a JAWS tandem.
Yep, it's a way of a blind person remotely controlling another blind person's computer with the JAWS screen reader on it. And I put this DVD package on her computer so she can rip a bunch of... She sent me a document with all her DVDs that she has. And I
went and picked out a handful.
I picked out a handful of ones
and the goal was for me to get them all ripped and to him before he came here.
Right. So by this point, we already decided that I was coming to you.
Yeah, because, you were already continuing your journey, and
Right.
he had told me about some of the stuff that had been going on, and I'm like, well, there's a way to keep him away even longer.
Right.
You
Yeah.
know?
Might as well, come up to Massachusetts. I mean, I don't have a timetable really. The only thing I was thinking of at that time was, okay, maybe I'll be back to my buddy Michelle's place by Thanksgiving. Well,
Expect the unexpected.
we'll expect the unexpected, as you're going to find out here in a little bit, because that's why I'm doing this post from the East Coast and not West Coast like every other review that I've done. So I'm preparing for now to go to New York and Massachusetts, and my original plan for New York was to go see Patrick for a week and then go visit my buddy Nick and Bob, who do an internet radio show from Nick's place on Long Island. And so that was fully my intent. It did not happen quite that way. On October the 19th, oh, that's a story in itself. October the 19th, I start on my journey. I leave Florida, boo hiss. I gotta say that. I went straight from summer, which I had been enjoying since I had left California, and on into Florida, and I go straight to winter. There was no fall for me this year. But the interesting part is, before I even did that, getting to the airport was almost an adventure in itself. Because, Kira, she's awesome. She took me to the airport the morning of the 19th, and we thought we left at 7 o'clock for a 9:30 departing flight. We thought that'd be plenty of time, because the airport was only 25-30 minutes away, we thought. But then there was an accident that closed one of the main bridges that would get us over to Tampa in that amount of time. So we had to take a detour. Well, that detour, there also happened to be a slight accident there. So instead of being at the airport by, 8 o'clock, we barely got there at 8:30, we were still 3 miles from the airport. And we barely got there. I mean, we were running with all of my bags through the airport on the tram that gets us to our gate, to my gate, I should say. Kira didn't go on this trip. We both got to go through security, because at this point it's so late that they couldn't even check bags. My ticket included, I bought the ticket that included a checked bag, But because of how late I got there, they couldn't check bags. So I got to take that bag that would have been checked on the flight as a carry-on for free. So that was nice. But I barely made the flight. I mean, you remember, Celeste, I think I told you when I got to New York about that, didn't I? Or maybe I told you later. I don't remember.
I know you told me later. Basically, he got to see what it felt like in the two Home Alone movies.
Yeah, pretty much. Running like crazy to get to my gate and just barely made the flight. I mean, 5 minutes more and I don't think I would have made it. And I would have been disappointed, and yet
a bit of girl piss.
Yeah, a bit of grr piss, as my favorite phrase goes. But I would have also enjoyed my extra day in Florida had I gotten it, because I love Florida. That's my new favorite place, I think, in the whole country. So I get to New York. I visit Patrick. Awesome people, him and his girlfriend and their family. Patrick's in-laws, his sister-in-law, mother-in-law, and father-in-law. Great people. They have been through some interesting times, let me tell you. I found out some interesting statistics about the very area that Patrick lives in. Like the fact that there was well, for one thing, they were close enough to see 9/11 happen right out their window. Patrick wasn't there at the time, but, his girlfriend's, his in-laws obviously would have seen it right out the window. I mean, close enough to see the New York City skyline right out your window and to see the towers just gone. I mean, you think that's bad. Then, a couple months after that, about 2 blocks over from where they live, there was a plane crash that occurred that originally was thought to be terrorism, but it was actually a very serious mechanical failure of the aircraft. Right, not 2 blocks from their house. So, in fact, I believe Patrick's mother-in-law literally looked up and saw the plane coming down. Can you imagine? Just, wow. And then, as if that wasn't bad enough, in 2012, Hurricane Sandy comes barreling through, filling up their basement with 8 feet of water. Why do they still live there? All I gotta say is people of Bell Harbor, New York are resilient as all get out, I guess. Oh, what do you think, Celeste? I mean,
I think that they're definitely very brave. I mean, although then again, I've been in Massachusetts for 25 years.
Mm-hmm.
Had been through several winter storms and so on.
But I don't think you've ever had your basement flooded out, seen a plane crash.
We'd only had one flood in my parents' basement. That was the first winter we were here.
Mm-hmm.
And once we got the sump pump, the only other little tiny flood that happened was when one of the toilets leaked.
Right, and that's something I think that everybody, we pretty much, you haven't gone through what they've went through, and they're still there. So I have to commend them for that. And when I found out that history, I was like, holy crap. And they still are hanging out over there. So I felt the whole time I was in New York, and I was only there for 5 days, because plans actually changed around a bit during my time there. Originally, I was going to be there a week, and then my other visit to New York, which was going to happen on that Friday, so that was going to be the 26th. As that was coming together, I was calling my people there, Nick and Bob. Well, mainly Nick was my contact over there. He informs me that him and his family were getting sick. Well, I wasn't about to go over there if they're sick, so that totally destroyed my plans of going.
Especially since Monty here did catch a cold in Florida.
Oh yes, I did catch a cold in Florida, and thank God it left me by the time I flew out of there on the 19th of October. So that was, I didn't want to, so soon after that, I wasn't about to try and catch another one. So, basically the plans for being...
I get a surprise of my life. I'm excited. I'm already excited he's coming like the 28th.
On the 28th is when I was originally going to come here.
Then I get, I'm talking about it on Facebook and Twitter.
She's counting down the days, 7 days, 6 days. And then I call her.
Or he comments. He leaves a comment. Well, might be sooner than you thought. Check your WhatsApp messages or something.
Right. Check your, because we're chatting on the WhatsApp.
I think I had been hanging out with family or something, and he left me a message.
Right, and you hadn't gotten to it right away, so that was the best way I could tell you to look, because I'm like, you're going to want to check those messages. So you check the messages, and I basically tell her that I'm coming sooner than you think. How does the 24th sound?
And Lindsay said something by the weekend.
Right.
So I had time to, because I wanted to get laundry done and just take care of a couple of things. And I'd already gotten the place cleaned up and took care of a few things, to get all ready.
You get everything ready to go in case, no matter what happened. Because there was a possibility I was going to come as early as the 26th.
Yeah.
Because if Digital Domain didn't happen and I stayed through the 26th at Patrick's anyway, then that's what would have happened. But as it worked out, it's like, well, if you don't mind me coming on the 24th, then I'll just come on the 24th. And that worked good for Patrick because then Patrick's mother-in-law could take me to the ferry. And that was also a cool experience. I got to ride the New York City ferry, which I love doing, by the way. I will do that again because they have an app. You can buy your ferry tickets right on the app. I don't even need to go to the terminal and get the tickets. I can do it right on the app before I am about to do the ferry ride, and I'm be ready to...
Like we could be on the train heading into Grand Central, and he could already have his ferry ticket purchased.
Yep, exactly. In fact, that is likely what I would do should we need to take, should our travels end up requiring a ferry ride. So I got to ride 2 ferries, and let me tell you, when I was at the Wall Street terminal, because that was one of the transfer points, when I was at the Wall Street terminal, I actually said, this is as close as I'm getting to the New York Stock Exchange. And again, I reflected on just how close I was to 9/11, to all the 9/11 activities, and just to the whole hustle and bustle of Manhattan, which, as far as I'm concerned, is the busiest city in the country. And to be right there was kind of awe-inspiring. Like, wow, I'm here. And I wasn't going to stay there for long, but I was there. So I took an Uber from, where was it? I took an Uber from 34th Street to Penn Station. Remember, Amtrak does not go to Grand Central currently.
Right, see, we were thinking of a different train that if we were to go to New York,
right,
it's cheaper.
It's cheaper. We would go into that Grand
Metro
Central.
North.
So we wouldn't be on Amtrak, but for my purposes, since I'm going all the way...
Because you're going all the way to Pittsfield, where this train...
Right. So I would go on the 24th of October, after hanging out with Patrick and having a great old time, I go to Penn Station is where I'm departing from. And I get there in plenty of time, and the ferry ride was awesome, and the Uber was... I had a discount on the Uber that week. I think I had like one of those 40% things that I get every...
And you used Ira to get his Uber.
And I used Ira, yes I did. And that's where I began to use Ira a little bit more. I used it for small things, like getting frequencies read out on my radio display and stuff. And they're fine for that. But using them to track my Uber, because I was in a big city. I had nobody around me that I knew. So...
And there's all kinds of hustle and bustle of traffic.
Yes.
You want to know exactly.
Right.
You make sure you get into the correct...
Get into the correct car, for one, So I got it. They tracked it, and actually I think the driver found me, which is cool. That's always cool when that happens. So I got in the Uber. We got to Grand Central, we got to Penn Station. Yeah, I know where I'm going. And my train to Massachusetts. Well, actually, I had couple of trains, because my first leg was from Penn to New Haven, Connecticut. Had I stayed on that train, I would have ended up in Boston. So I had to make sure to stay awake. No falling asleep on that train. And then it was on from New Haven to Springfield, Massachusetts, from New Haven, Connecticut. So actually I was on 3 trains that day, because it was Penn to New Haven, Connecticut, New Haven, Connecticut to Springfield, Mass, and then Springfield, Massachusetts to Pittsfield. I had a little bit of a layover in Springfield. Kind of reminded me of being in Bakersfield, actually, because it's kind of a small station over there. And I met up with Celeste on the evening of the 24th, and her mom came and picked me up, which is good because it was raining a little bit that day, as I recall, when I got in. It wasn't too bad, but it was definitely chilly, as it had been since I left Florida almost a week earlier. Remember, I went straight from fall to winter. Or no, I went straight from summer to winter,
Right.
No fall for
So
me.
she gets him, and I've been busy that day with all kinds of stuff, getting everything all ready. I had to get order a new watch because of course I had to break that day.
Yeah, that's right. You ordered
And
that day.
just all kinds of stuff, But I was out pretty much ready,
You were ready for my arrival when I came, and we would end up having Liberty
and
Pizza that night.
we got him here, got him all set up.
Yeah, within a record time too. I think within 15 minutes, all my computer stuff was set up
and going
and working perfectly. So that was, I think I did that in record time. We, obviously we've.
Because the World Series is going on, I wanted to watch.
Oh yes, so I watched that.
And I got us Liberty Pizza.
Yep, that was an awesome first night. We did the Liberty Pizza thing, and we would then just basically proceed to. Now the original plan, as the time continued, was I was going to be here until November the 4th. And then I was going to continue on and go visit friends out in Virginia and other places across the Midwest and kind of
headed back to California.
Yeah, as I worked my way back to California, kind of again as a slow process. But this is where the unexpected comes in.
Well, first of all, let's talk about what you did your original stay.
Oh yes.
So I guess I'll even chime in a bit here.
Yeah,
so,
you were part of
well,
this.
he got to have some time alone because I had a dentist appointment on the 26th.
Yes.
And that was he enjoyed that. And then that night we saw the longest World Series game in history.
The longest, yes, that was a big event of this year actually, as far as I'm concerned. That thing was 18 innings. I was going to watch the game regardless, but that game was.
That game even piqued my interest once we got the 14.
Right, once we got the 4. I mean, we started out, she was sitting here dozing off, which I fully expected, because the game itself at first was not one of those dramatic ball games, that any baseball fan will know that sometimes you get ball games where you get runs, like 9 runs in the first inning. I've seen that. But no, not this one. 8 innings in, I think the score was still like 1-0 or something crazy like that. And then, it was tied up, and it just stayed that way, and it just kept going and going and going, 10 innings, 11 innings, 12. Once we got to 14, we're like, all right, how long is this going to go? And so we're both eagerly watching this thing now. It's got both of our attention. And as it turned out, it would end up being 18 innings and 7 hours and 20 minutes is how long that ball game would last. And wow, that was quite the game. I believe Houston won that, didn't they? Or did the Dodgers win that? I'm trying to think now. Either way,
that was one because remember now I forget who won.
I know, right?
But all I remember was series was done by the end of the weekend.
Right, it was definitely done by the end of the weekend. I don't think there was a 7th game this year.
There was a game on Saturday and a game on Sunday, which we slept through part of.
Oh, that's right.
Busy
That's right.
Ripping Full House.
We ripped the Full House collection into my computer, so I have the entire Full House series. And we spent all day on that Sunday working on that. So we laid down and rested, and it was only thanks to a friend of mine calling me that I woke up in time to catch the last bit of that game. So that was kind of cool.
Then on Monday the 29th, I have a private streaming server, and it was the anniversary of the death of a friend of
death
ours.
of a very dear friend and fellow internet broadcaster known as Toonhead. So we decided that we were going to do a little tribute show on Celeste's little private broadcasting server that we referred to as Private Server 101. And so we did. We did a little private, and we actually got participation in that. A couple of our friends, certainly one of them at least, contacted us. And we had a good time during that show. That was, a 3-4 hour show I think we did?
I think actually it started at like 10 p.m. and went till like 3:30 in the morning.
Right. And we actually pulled we pulled out an old, to end that show, we went off to bed, but we played a little special treat for anyone listening.
We found a file that Monty had made of a week's worth of shows on the station that Toonhead was a part of.
Mm-hmm. And we're like, can we even extract this? And if we can we get this file out of there? That was a fun little project.
That was our project during the day.
Yep.
And we extracted the one archive we have of his
Toonhead's old show.
He did just 6 months before he died.
Right, and when you listen to that show, you have no idea that he's about to die. I mean, he sounds all happy and chipper and just no clue that anything was wrong, and it's kind of eerie to listen to now. But we did that. We played that at the end of our tribute. Like, we got a surprise for you guys, and we did it.
Then the next day, he meets my nephew.
Oh yes, I get to do that. We
went to swimming lesson.
Yep, we did this. I got to experience the YMCA, which is right down the block here, and we got to go, and we used IRA Live, which is a feature of the IRA system. I got to listen to that.
Because I called into IRA to have the swimming lesson described, and then I went live.
And then she went live, so I could listen. Because there's no way in that environment that I'd be able to hear her trying to describe it to me. There's no way that would work. So
very echoey and noisy. And
right, it just wouldn't happen. So.
And then the next day was Halloween.
Yep.
And he went with me to help pass out candy to the trick-or-treaters.
Right.
He mostly kept me company.
Yep. Yep.
And we had Rice Krispie
Tons of Rice Krispie treats. I think we even brought some back.
Yeah.
And now at this point, I was only planning to be here until the 4th of November, like I said earlier.
And then on the 2nd, we went to my dad's concert.
That was a cool concert, and if you want to see that, that is on YouTube, all of it, in 2 parts. It's called the Eagles Band, not to be confused with the rock group, by the way. It's a local band that has been around for... Well, I know her dad's been in it for 11 years. I don't remember how long the actual...
I think that band's been around like since the 1930s or something.
Probably, yeah. Long time. And it's absolutely wonderful concert. One of 2 that I would end up going to before the end of 2018.
Also, earlier that same day, he was on his first edition of Flashback Friday live in the studio.
Live in the studio, yep. Which was already planned, you know, the me being on the air for her show. That was already going to happen. And so we did that, and, you know...
Because the week before there was no show because of my dentist appointment.
Right. So, and that's when I had a little bit of alone time. And so then
the weekend comes.
The weekend comes, and
we get bad weather.
We get bad weather coming through. We get snow and all kinds of... I'm like, well, I was going to go on the 4th, but not while this kind of weather's going on, because that's my rule. I don't travel in bad weather. There's just no point. I mean, if it's snowing outside or even has the potential of snowing outside, there's no point in, you know, if it's a dusting, that's one thing, but there was going to be like...
There was going to be a blizzard.
Yeah.
And wind.
And wind and not, you know, kind of not the kind of stuff you'd want to be traveling in. So we made the decision to well, first I called my contact in Virginia to see what she's up to, when she wants to reschedule. Come to find out she's sick anyway. Remember that?
Well, actually, that was after the...
Oh, that was after. Okay, right.
So you saw that the weather was bad. You let them know you weren't coming because of bad weather. You'd be in touch.
Right.
About a week or 2 later, you get back in touch with them, and they're sick.
That's right. Then they're sick. I'm like, okay, well, we'll just put it, you know, there's no timetable. We'll just hang out, and we'll figure out when I come down.
In the meantime, we get him prepared to, because I'm like, I've never heard, you know, I knew that Monty did shows.
I told her about the shows that I did.
But I'm like, okay, we're going to fix this.
We're talking internet radio shows here, not TV shows or anything.
So, of course, I get him my music collection. And get them all set up.
And, of course, we're networked at this point, so getting her music collection was nice and speedy.
And now even getting the archives now is a much easier process.
Oh, God, yeah.
On the network.
Definitely.
And I got him broadcasting software, Station Playlist Studio, and scripts, and JAWS scripts, and all that. And get him, he applied. Actually, he applied while we were whipping the Full House DVDs.
Oh, that's right. That's right, I did do that. Because that happened while the rips were going on. Simultaneously, I could, you know, let that rip and apply it to Q at the same time. So I apply, and then we do...
He did his first test.
Did my first test, and it wasn't that great. Now, you don't want to know what I was using at that time. I was using an old USB headset, and it just, for streaming, it just didn't sound good. And it's very evident in the test.
So we rescheduled for another test.
And in the meantime, I forget, does Thanksgiving happen during this time? I think it does. Because that was...
Well, actually, I think your second test was right before, I think it was right after Thanksgiving.
Or right after. Yeah, that was the second test. We're talking about the first one. We're doing this chronologically.
The first one was before Thanksgiving.
Right.
You also get in touch with the Virginia people, and that's when you find out.
That's when I find out that one of the main person there is not feeling so hot. So I'm like, okay, well, we'll be in touch. There's no rush.
With Thanksgiving around the corner, you decide to just table it.
Just table it for now, and we'll get back to you on that. We'll do it, but we'll table it for now. So there was no rush to go to Virginia now. So then we could focus on Thanksgiving. And at this point, somewhere around this point, I believe, is when I hear from my brother. Remember that?
Oh, right.
My brother calls me. And at this point, I'm like, wow, I haven't heard from my brother since the summer. Because every time I try to call him to go to San Diego, something would come up. So I'm like, wow, what's he doing? He's talking about going to Seattle, Washington, and all this. I'm like, oh boy, that means I'm... And then I find out, and this is kind of bittersweet, I find out that when I was in Florida, my brother was only 20... When I was staying at my buddy Vicky's, my brother was only 20 minutes from me. Had I known, I could have seen him. Had we only been in touch while I was there, I could have seen my brother in Florida. Wouldn't have been quite the same as San Diego, because there wouldn't have been a Mexico border crossing involved or any of the cool things that I would do in San Diego. But hell, I would have been able to see my brother, my favorite brother, his name is Kurt. I would have been able to see him while he was in Florida, and it didn't work. I didn't even... He never calls me. I have to call him usually. And the fact that he called me just kind of threw me off guard. So I talked to him. He's talking about going up to Seattle, but he says he'll be back by the 20th of December. And so at that point, I had it in my mind that, okay, depending on the weather, maybe I'll go back to California for the holidays to visit, that'll be my time to get to San Diego. Well, again, expect the unexpected, folks. So now we get to Thanksgiving. And boy, was that fun. Shall we?
So we get up that morning and
watch the Macy's parade.
The Thanksgiving Day parade.
First time I'd ever watched that, by the way. And
then we go to my parents' place.
And we have just a lovely Thanksgiving feast. We had, let's see if I can remember what all we had. We had turkey, we had stuffing, we had, what is that stuff? Broccoli casserole.
Yep.
And
Sweet potatoes,
of course, mashed potatoes.
There was cranberry sauce.
Which I didn't have any mashed potatoes on Thanksgiving, and that's unusual for me, because I always have mashed potatoes. You know what I think it was? I thought there was gravy built into the mashed potatoes, and I didn't like gravy, so I found out later that, and I would end up having that have leftovers later on, but...
there was cranberry sauce, there was a shrimp cocktail, which
I did not like. I tried it. Oh my God. No. In fact, her dad thought that I wasn't going to like anything, remember? Because I tried the, what was it? I tried the partay first. And that was disgusting. Then I tried the shrimp cocktail. And I didn't like that any better. So, of course, your father, having seen that, is like, well, you're not going to like, you're going to like anything we have here. And
some dinner time that'll change.
Yes, at dinner time.
He even likes the Jell-O thing.
Oh yeah, the Jell-O that we had. That's right, that was Thanksgiving, and that was delicious. That was really good.
And see, with the grocery stores, to help save on funds, we would help pay for groceries, and he and I helped to contribute to that
dinner. So it was a good thing that I liked it, because I would have felt bad contributing to something that I didn't like. So we did.
And then for dessert, there was chocolate pecan pie and pumpkin.
And pumpkin pie. Now that was cool, because it was the first time they'd done pumpkin pie. And I don't know if they did that. I think they did that partially knowing that I would be there, because normally they wouldn't have it. And so I ended up getting all the pumpkin pie. Literally, nobody else had it. Isn't that right? We literally, that pie was mine.
You had a slice of it at Thanksgiving, and we brought the rest home.
Right. That was my breakfast and the next day.
Over the weekend.
Yep. So that was kind of a nice treat. I got the pumpkin pie. That was all mine. All mine. And the chocolate pecan pie that you had was basically everybody else's. So you probably didn't get as much of that as I did my pumpkin pie.
Nope.
So that was Thanksgiving. It was very yummy. And, then
Then the next week he does his.
I do my second test.
That's right. And you pass it. He's using Apple earbuds at this point.
Right. I have my. Well, actually, I have her Apple earbuds. I could have used mine, but she actually offered me a pair of hers that she doesn't use, and she actually gave them to me. I have them in my bag now. They're mine. So I have a second pair of earbuds now, which is cool. And so, that was my setup for the time being, and I was happy with it.
He passed it.
This audio quality was better. It worked good. So.
And then he got to go to the first staff meeting that we had in December.
Yep, the very first one.
He wasn't ready to start that weekend.
Right, I didn't feel that I was ready. I needed a little more time just to kind of get in the mood for it, So
he did his first show December 8th.
December the 8th was my very first show, and that show was interesting. I got through it, but boy, the software didn't want me to do it.
And just so you guys know, if you want to hear Monty's Grab Bag, it's Saturdays from
4 to 7
p.m.
Eastern.
On the same station that I'm at, the Q Online.
The Q Online, yep. The TheQOnline.net is how you can find it. And all the links to listen are there and all that good stuff. So, I believe that takes us into...
Gets us up to my birthday.
Up to your birthday. Oh, we had fun there. No, before we get to your birthday, though...
We had an adventure.
We had an adventure of our own. Ironically, this would happen on a day that it was snowing. She wanted to go to Panera Bread. Celeste wanted to go to Panera Bread because it's a tradition she's done, I'm guessing, for years with her parents. But her parents, with her mom specifically, but her mom didn't seem interested in going this year. She never mentioned it, and Celeste really wanted to go. She really wanted to have this soup that they have. It's a seasonal...
Really good autumn squash soup that I found out about last year that I've had. It's very good.
Yes. So...
And I also wanted him to meet a friend of mine.
Right, that works at a facility not too far from here. It's within easy walking distance. Well, when you know where you're going. Which Celeste didn't know where she was going at first. Remember that?
Oh, yeah. I was a block...
You were a block short. Yeah. You're like, oh, where is it? Oh. And then we had to walk down another block. Okay, I know where I'm at now. That kind of thing. We finally get there, and we meet her friend and her friend's guide dog. And...
my friend's name is Nancy.
Yep.
And her guide dog's name is Joey.
Right. So we had fun with that. And then it was off to Panera with our Uber. And I think with that one, you did the Uber, right? And then I did the Lyft, I think is how we did that day?
I think so.
I think that's how we did it. Because I did one of the ways and you did the other, I think is how we...
Because what it was is we took Uber to the... we took Lyft to the restaurant because it was cheaper.
Right, that's right.
And then we got there, got our food.
Mm-hmm. I had a sandwich, ham and cheese sandwich, I do believe, and
I had the chili lime Southwest chicken salad and autumn squash soup.
Hey, you got
a fruit cup and a pastry.
You got your soup that you were dying to have.
Because it's a seasonal soup.
Yeah, so you wanted to get it while you could, which actually yesterday was the last day you could get it.
Yep.
So we got it. We got it in there, and then it was.
And of course, you really saw how I used Iowa because I used it to get there.
Yes.
I used it to get to my friend's workplace.
Right.
I used it to get the lift.
Mm-hmm.
I used it in Panera to get my drink and all. Order my tell me what on the menu and to order my
And let me tell you something. I'll say one thing about the employees at Panera. If you want help, all you have to do is wear a pair of Ira glasses. That's all you have to do. I was amazed how helpful they were. So while...
And then I used them to get my drink.
Right. And so I was... While she used her Ira to do that, I let the employees help me get my stuff and get me situated. Because I figured, hey, they're gonna offer to help. I'm gonna let them help. So...
and then we enjoyed our lunch.
Oh, we did. And then it was time to go home. And that almost got interesting. Because it was my turn to do the... transportation, because that's what we agreed on when I think we pretty much agreed on that when we left.
We bought our own meals.
Right, and so it was agreed that I would, since we bought our own meals, I would buy purchase our Uber back. Well, everything was going well until I brought up the Uber app and saw that there were no cars available. Now keep in mind, I've been using Uber for off and on for years, since 2016. And the only time I had ever seen it say, no cars available, was like in the middle of the night, like at 3 in the morning, 2, 3 in the morning in Bakersfield. Otherwise, there's usually an Uber within 5 minutes, maybe 8 minutes on a busy day. So I wanted to make sure I wasn't seeing things. So now it was my turn to use the IRA service. So I call IRA, and I have them look at the same info. I have them try to get me an Uber or a Lyft. They look at Uber first, because that's where I had my discount. And they're like, yep, I see the same thing you do. There are no cars available. I'm like, really? And they look at Lyft, because I have my both accounts tied to my IRA account, so they can see both of them. And they look at Lyft, and they say, yep, there's no cars available there either. Actually, and they had one for a minute, just for a second, and then it went away. And we're like, oh boy, are we going to be stuck here? Because at this point, no one could rescue us. Her parents were all the way in New York City.
For the day Christmas shopping.
Yeah, they were doing Christmas shopping in New York City for the day. And so they couldn't help us. And nobody else around here could drive. So we would be SOL if we couldn't get home. So I'm starting to get a little bit worried at this point. I think about, 10 minutes goes by?
10, 15
Maybe
minutes.
15 minutes. And finally I get word that, yes, there is one that just came out. The agents were constantly refreshing, looking for any sign of
a
lift. And we finally get one. I think an Uber actually ends up popping up. And so we finally...
No, the Lyft.
Well, it was a Lyft. Okay, right. So finally a Lyft pops up, and we snag it. And then we're worried about, okay, are we going to be able to find it? Because, it's snowing pretty good out there.
Well, I've used my IRA to throw my drink away.
Right.
We're all ready to go, and then instead of Monty using sighted guide with me to get out to the parking lot, I'd go sighted guide with him.
Right.
And
So
we stand at the edge under the overhang thing.
Mm-hmm.
And
remember, I'm the one that's on with Ira at this point, so yeah.
And they pull up.
Yep.
And we get in, and we head back here.
And that was good. And we were so glad to get back, because after that, I was like, yeah, I'm glad we got back. And the weather actually was getting worse, remember? It was,
oh, yeah.
Snow was picking up. And
then, of course, the next day is my birthday.
Yes, and that was fun, too. We had already talked about, because I don't like Chinese food, and she wanted flavors
of Malaysia.
Flavors of Malaysia. It's a restaurant nearby here that she likes. And so we
struck up a compromise.
We struck up a compromise, is that we would get flavors, and then we'd get me a burger from nearby Liberty Pizza. And so we did that, and...
That day, Uber came nice and fast.
Oh, yeah, Uber was nice and fast that day. It was within 4 minutes. I was like, now that's more like it. So the only thing I could think of is nobody was out because it was snowing. But hopefully...
we did our lunch. I got back here and enjoyed it. And then we went to my family celebration.
Yes, and that was fun because her nephew was there. And we blew out the candles, and I got to listen to a very loud trumpet, thanks to that nephew. If I'm a little bit deafer now because of that.
Yeah, he's 5 years old, folks.
Right, so, he loves little loud things. Trumpets, anything. And so we did that.
Yellow cake with chocolate icing.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
And chocolate ice cream.
And yes, I did eat some of the cake.
Yep.
Because, hey, it's her birthday, so I'm going to eat at least a little bit of it.
And then, what did we have for dinner, Monty?
Oh, we had a delicious dinner. We had, oh, God, I know what we had. We had a chicken pot pie. Oh, no, we didn't. No, that was later on. Oh, God, I should know this. Oh, I'm going to feel like an idiot. I can't pause the video either. Oh, God, what did we...
This is live video.
Live video. What did we have? We had
taquitos.
Taquito, that's right.
And
Taquitos
sweet potato tater tots.
That's right. Oh, that's right. Sweet potato... Oh, and that's what I loved. The sweet potato tater tots were the best. And we...
And I had some fruit with chocolate and cheese sauce with my taquitos.
Yep, and I didn't have any of that. But I had the taquitos and the sweet potato tater tots. And it was good.
And I opened my gift.
And you opened your gift, including the one I gave her. I decided to get her a... well, I had done this a while back. Actually, I did this...
He took advantage of Cyber Monday.
I took advantage of Cyber Monday and did all of my shopping for multiple things.
I did all my Christmas shopping the day before my birthday.
Oh, well, this was not just Christmas shopping. This was birthday and Christmas shopping. You just didn't know it at the time.
Right.
So one of her gifts, I had already been in talks with her mother. I already told her via secret text, which I had ordered her 2 DVDs, and I told her which one to give on her birthday and which one to give for Christmas. And so on her birthday, she gets
the
Karate Kid DVD. Yep, and I'm not sure if she was excited or not. Were you? I don't know if you were surprised or because you didn't really have any reaction. I don't think when you got that. You're like, just hi DVD, have this.
I don't quite remember. I think I was just kind of overwhelmed and.
Well, that might have been, I think, Zach causing that. I think we were all overwhelmed with him hanging around.
And so yeah. But I mean, I was happy to receive it amongst some other lovely gifts from my family.
Yep. So we got that, and then the birthday celebrations weren't over. The next day, this is now the 15th of December. Yes, we're almost done, folks. I promise. We're just about done here. This could be my longest review, even topping 2016, I think. So on the 15th, we celebrate with her friends. She has some local friends here named Christy and Carol.
Crystal and Carol.
God, jeez. It's the Coke I had before, I tell you. You stuck alcohol in that Coke, didn't you?
No.
Yeah.
I swear I did not.
Crystal and Carrie are the friends that she had. And those, we picked them up around noon that day, and we went to the movies at our local mall, such as it is. It's not anywhere near as exciting as the malls that I've been to. But we did it. We went there and saw Ralph Breaks the Internet, which, by the way, is an awesome movie, and you should see it. And
it was his first time seeing a movie in the theater with descriptive. Right?
Yeah, now that was cool. I had heard about movie description, audio description for movies in the movie theater, but I had never seen it in practice. And Celeste told me, because I originally actually was not, I don't think I was going to go with her on her celebration, because I wasn't sure what movie I wanted to see.
Well, at one point, you weren't even going to be here.
Oh, that's right. Originally, yes, I wasn't going to be here. So when it was becoming obvious that I was going to be here, then I'm like, well, do I want to go to that birthday celebration or not? And then then you told me that the movies had audio description. And I'm like, okay, I got to check that out.
He even canceled his Monty grab bag. Cause it's a
Yes,
Saturday.
yes.
Well, I took a break on my birthday, so.
So that was fair. We both didn't do our shows that week. So we went and saw Ralph Breaks the Internet, and I saw it with the description. So basically what it is you get this little receiver box with a headset attached to it that you wear, and you listen to the description as the movie is playing. The description is sent over this receiver
into the headset,
and generally it works. It's a separate track that comes through the receiver. It doesn't affect people watching the main movie. So both myself and Celeste's friend Crystal had one of these.
And I had one.
And you had one, obviously. And yeah, it worked good. It worked very well. I think there was a couple of breakups in the description, but overall I think it worked very well.
Mm-hmm.
And it kept up. I mean, we could follow the movie. I don't know about you, but I followed it quite nicely.
So did I.
Uh-huh. And they even described this is what I thought was cool. At the beginning of the movie, they have a little Regal Cinemas an announcement that scrolls across the screen that basically says, please, no texting, turn your cell phones off, no texting during the film, and no recording, because you're not allowed to record, as you know, movies in the theater. And they mentioned that, and that announcement just scrolls across the screen. Well, guess what? It was described to us. Remember that? It was. Yep. I was like, hey, that's cool.
Not sure that the headset was working properly.
Yeah, because up until then we didn't know, because we were just wearing it hoping we'd hear something. And fortunately, we did. And the movie was awesome. I recommend anybody check it out. In fact, I liked it so much that, well, here in the end...
we'll talk about what we did later.
Talk about what we did here in a little bit. So
after the movie, my friends wanted to do some shopping.
Right, so they did some shopping, and...
we just hung out at the food court.
We hung out at the food court, such as it is. That food court doesn't have much in it. It has, one burger, one
pizza place, one Chinese place, a smoothie place.
And a smoothie. There's not even a burger place in that food court. That's I'm still amazed by that. So we hung out. Actually, it went in waves. Like, I think first it was Carrie. Did Carrie do any shopping at first?
Carrie did some shopping, then Crystal did some shopping.
Right. I had to kind of talk Crystal into it. That was the funny part. So she finally realizes, oh yeah, this is my chance to do it. So Carrie got back, and then Crystal did some shopping. So it was Carrie, Celeste, myself, and Crystal in the end. So we had fun just hanging out, visiting at the mall there. Then we went to dinner at a place I can never remember the name of.
Called Vivaldi's Pizzeria.
Vivaldi's Pizzeria. Excellent pizza over there, by the way. If you're ever in Pittsfield, give them a visit. It's an awesome pizza place, and love the pizza there. And of
course we had curly fries.
Curly fries with that. Her mom, Celeste's mom, treated us to pizza for part of Celeste's birthday celebration with her friends.
And we forgot to mention that a week before this we went to the Christmas concert that my dad was at.
Oh yeah, right. That was a week before. Yeah, that was it. Now that concert is also available here on YouTube if you want to watch it. That's available in its entirety, also by the Eagles band. That was on December the 9th. That's what I thought. And that's funny. The first concert was November 2nd, and the next one was December 9th. Interesting. And that concert was really well done. Oh my gosh, they did the Polar Express, some of the good songs from the Polar Express. They did Sleigh Ride, which was just, man, I thought it was the original performers of that song singing, performing that. And just, what a concert.
But then back to my birthday.
Yes.
We were so full that we had leftover enough to have 2 more helpings of pizza.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah, that was...
Because I got Mexican pizza and he had his usual meat.
My meat lovers that I always get when I get pizza. Well, almost always. And so that was that. And then we...
And I got presents from my friends, including a $25 gift card to Walmart.
Which would later be used, mostly. There's not much on it left anymore, but we'll get to that here in a minute. God, we're almost done.
So then, birthday celebrating's done.
Yep.
We get up to, more or less get up to Christmas. We do our Christmas specials.
We do our Christmas specials, both of them on our radio shows, internet radio shows.
Which I had to help from his quiz, because his stuff was...
Yeah, my stuff was being not very cooperative. The big problem is I'm using a whole new piece of software, and it doesn't always work for me. And I was going to... I'd even told her after my Christmas special, which she basically saved by doing half of it for me. We found a solution that would work, but after that I'm like, well, I think I might do the next show from your computer, as in Celeste's computer.
Well, in the end, you'll find out.
You'll find out that wasn't necessarily necessary. So we get to, let's see, Christmas Eve, I guess.
Right. Well, we do our Home Alone watch.
We do our Home Alone marathon on
the 23rd.
On the night of the 23rd. Because we had already talked about doing that. And somewhere in there...
within this time, he's learned about a new show, the new Nicktoon, The Loud House.
Oh, yes, the new Nicktoon. I love that cartoon, the little thing called The Loud House. I love that show. Yeah, weird.
So the Thanksgiving episode, then I showed him the Christmas one.
And we did watch the Christmas Shoes.
We watched the Christmas Shoes and Jingle All the Way. On the beginning of December, we had no internet.
Right. So during that time, we watched Jingle All the Way while we did both of them that day, didn't we? That was on the same day. That's right, because we wanted to get Christmas Shoes out of the way because of the teary nature of that movie. And yeah, I teared up. I think you did too.
Yes, I did.
It was just as teary-eyed. We watched it with described. It's bad enough if you don't have it described, but if you have it described, oh my God, I never knew I could cry like that.
So anyway, back to Christmas.
Back to Christmas. So
we do our Home Alone marathon.
Yep.
Then we get up on Christmas Eve. That's when I learn about the Monty tradition with the radio. And
yes, we turn on. I have a tradition every Christmas Eve. I don't think I've mentioned this on any of my previous reviews because I've never really done much on Christmas before. And while I've been doing these reviews, I have a tradition where I turn on the terrestrial FM radio wherever I'm at, and I scan around the dial and I look to see who's playing Christmas music, and I kind of let the Christmas music play from Christmas Eve all the way to the end of Christmas Day. And so...
we literally did that.
We did that this year, and I even told Celeste, we're going to keep this on...
Even while we're not here.
Even while we're not here, so we're greeted with it when we come back. And so we did. We put her... I wasn't sure what we were going to use for a radio at this point, but she has an old boombox from... 2004 that served the purpose quite nicely, and we found a local community station that was served the Christmas music quite well and actually had quite the variety. And as the day would go on and I would check the other stations, I ended up settling on the WTBR high school run radio station here in Pittsfield as my Christmas station. And I think that was a good choice.
Oh yeah, it was.
They had quite the...
Because that afternoon we went to my folks' place for Christmas Eve dinner.
Yep. And I kept the music going then. We listened on my
His little portable
portable radio that I have, and that was cool. And then for Christmas Eve dinner, we had this just absolutely gorgeous quiche that I again helped contribute to. And I think you did. Wait, no, I got everything for that, didn't I?
Yeah, and I contributed to the artichoke dip.
That's right.
For a snack.
That's right. So, because I don't do dips, so so that was, oh my God, that was so good. I could have eaten the whole thing. I wasn't sure if I'd like it, but
It has ham and Swiss cheese and made with a hash brown crust.
It's just, you combine all that together and it was, Kira, if you're watching this, I know you're an awesome cook. Make this sometime. It is lovely. Is there an official name for it? Is it just called a ham and Swiss cheese quiche?
I think it's just called ham and Swiss cheese quiche.
Okay. Well, make it sometime. It's lovely. Yum. So we have that along with some more of that broccoli casserole.
No, that was the next day.
Right. I get the dinners confused. What did we have?
He's learned about Christmas tree cakes.
Oh, yes.
This Christmas season.
This Christmas season was the first time I got introduced to Christmas tree cakes. And
They're made by Little Debbie's, and they're different flavors.
Yep.
Of course, I got chocolate, and he would get vanilla.
And I got vanilla because I don't prefer chocolate. And I would get them every time I could. Every chance I would get the Christmas tree cakes. And I had our last one just the other day.
So, and the quiche was so good, we brought back leftovers to have for
breakfast the
or
next
lunch,
day.
Before on Christmas Day.
Mm-hmm.
So then we come back, the radio's still playing Christmas music.
Yep, we were greeted like we thought we would be, and it was awesome. We stayed up all night just chatting.
Chatting and listening to the music.
Mm-hmm. We finally did get a little bit of sleep. Woke up about
like 11:30
that Christmas morning, and
because we weren't doing the celebrating till the afternoon.
Right.
So basically we had a leftover quiche feast for lunch.
Mm-hmm. And then it was time to go to do the gift exchange and the fun part of Christmas that everybody waits for, and that was fun. I got gifts that I didn't expect. For example,
earlier in the month, he got a coat.
Yes, I'd gotten a coat as an early Christmas present from Celeste's mom. She did not have to do that because I have a coat back in California. As far as I know, it's still there. Well, now I have two, assuming it's still there. If I ever get back, if I don't ever see it again, it won't be the end of the world because I have
a new
this
coat.
one, and it's just as good as the one I had. And so on Christmas Day, I was pleasantly surprised when I got gloves and a couple of hats to go with it. I was like, whoa, you didn't have to do this. And then
you got an iTunes gift card.
I got an $15 iTunes gift card because I had told her mom that I was interested in, if all I got was the iTunes gift card, I would have been perfectly happy.
You won $2 on a scratch ticket.
Oh, yes. I did win $2 on a scratch ticket. I almost forgot about that. So then, and I also got a stocking with a nice candy cane in it, which I gladly consumed. And
you got some vanilla Christmas tree cake.
I got some Christmas tree cake and
Rice Krispie
treats, which I'm still working on.
And a tin of cookies that you just finished.
And a nice tin of cookies that I finished just the other day. Nice little cookie tin full of wrapped up like cupcakes cookies. And so I was pleasantly surprised that I got all that as for Christmas.
And then tell me what I gave you.
Oh, yes. Then the fun part happened. Then I got the gift that I wasn't even remotely expecting, which was a USB headset that I had put on my Amazon wish list. I learned about Amazon wish lists this season, by the way, too. And I put this headset, and ironically, the model number, I know it was the CAD U82, but I forget the maker of it. I'd have to go look at my order history to find it. But it's a high-quality headset used by a fellow internet radio broadcaster that we know on another internet station named Ashley. And it was actually recommended to me by another broadcaster, and he goes, yeah, Ashley uses it. And I heard how she sounded. I liked the sound of it. I'm like, wow, if I'm going to get a headset, that's the one I want. But I knew it was about $50. But I put it on there and just, expected nothing at all to happen because, I haven't gotten good Christmas gifts in I don't know how long. So I was pleasantly surprised when I get this nice big package, and I almost practically knew what it was immediately because it was molded in the shape of a headset. It was really cute. I almost didn't want to open the package. So I'm like opening this thing and I'm like, is this a headset? And she goes, yep. And she goes, yeah, remember that headset on your wish list? I'm like, oh my God, I almost teared up like I'm doing now because I didn't expect her to do that. And I'm still grateful for that she did that. You didn't have to do that. There were definitely much cheaper items you could have got me, like the gift card.
Right.
Or, anything. And you chose to get me that. So, I mean, thank you 1,000 times over, like I said over Christmas.
You're very welcome.
I'm amazed you did that. You didn't have to. So, that was a pleasant surprise. So I make sure we got all that home safely, and then
we had a lovely Christmas dinner before then.
Yes, and the Christmas dinner.
And of course, I got lots of gifts, including the DVD that he got me for Christmas was the Back to the Future, the animated series.
Yes.
For those of you who don't know, it was short-lived.
Yes.
2 seasons, went in the early 90s, and I'd found, when I was much younger, I found an old VHS tape that my brother had made. And I showed him 2 of the episodes.
And I'm like, hey, this is cool.
And then I showed him my wish list, and I put it on there.
And I'm like, ooh. So by her showing me her wish list, that pretty much sealed what I was going to get her for Christmas. And I did all my shopping at once. So I had to decide what I was going to get her for her birthday and for Christmas. And I figured that the animated series would be the kind of the cooler thing to do for Christmas.
Mm-hmm.
So when I was talking to your mother, I was telling her, okay, I want her to get just the Karate Kid DVD because she was going to give you both DVDs at once for your birthday.
Oh, okay.
Well, I had to make sure that didn't happen.
Right.
So it didn't, and everything was good, and we haven't yet delved into it yet, but we will.
Well, all we did was make sure all the episodes were there.
We did do that. We did the very quick run through of the entire season. It took about 10 minutes.
And then basically it's based upon an experience I had a few years ago with an issue with another show I like.
Right.
When I got one of its seasons on DVD.
One of its discs were actually, one disc that was supposed to be one thing was something else entirely, and the disc was not there. She'd eventually get that fixed. But anyway, so I think that brings us...
So then, basically, end of the year, we do, I do our last shows of the year.
Oh, yes.
So
I come down with a little bit of a cold right on the end of the year, almost the end of the year. Basically, hit me on Friday evening, pretty much.
Yeah, we were actually going to go have some quesadillas at my folks, and that plan fell through.
Right. Well, you could have gone by yourself.
Right.
I would have let you. But I was going to stay behind if you'd done that.
And the night before is when we both ordered some things.
Yes.
I had gotten some money from my uncle.
Right.
In the meantime.
And
I upgraded my JAWS SMAs because it needed to be done.
Yeah, you needed to get that done. So sadly, you couldn't hang on to that money and put it in savings. That would have been nice. But you did put it to good productive use.
I also ordered something else. Well, I ordered a couple of things.
Right.
I used my $25 gift card to Walmart. And I ordered Wreck-It Ralph because we saw the sequel. I hadn't seen the first one before. Yeah, now we got to see the first one.
It's one of the rare times when you see the sequel before the first version of the movie. So since we like the sequel, we're like, well, why not? Let's try to get...
But I wanted to wait and see if I got it for Christmas, you know.
Right.
My parents could have surprised me.
They could have, yep, that's true.
But they did not.
So you're like,
and same was, nobody got me the Amazon Echo either.
Right, which was the other big item on the wish list that we weren't sure
I really
about.
wanted.
Yeah.
I mean, that was the big thing. I mean, heck, if all I'd gotten was the Amazon Echo...
You would have been perfectly happy with that, just like I would have been happy with my iTunes gift card.
Right.
If everybody in that family had gotten me an iTunes gift card, I would have been, like, ecstatic, you know. So she orders Wreck-It Ralph. Actually, I actually helped her order it because I was on the Amazon. No,
You
wait.
were on the Walmart website.
On the Walmart website. That's where I found it. That's right. So we ordered it, and it came in record time. I'm still amazed how quickly it got here.
And I ordered my Echo, and he ordered Apollo 13 on Amazon, which we're still waiting.
We're still waiting for. I don't think we'll get that till Wednesday.
But then he gets sick.
Yes, I get sick right on Friday evening. Didn't feel good up until all the way through Saturday.
He didn't really start feeling himself till Sunday.
Right.
Not only did I do his last show of the year on Saturday, which was exactly 1 year from when I did my last show on that date in 2017, which is ironic.
Yep.
Which I did do a last show for me on the 28th.
Yep.
You know. But I spent the bulk of that day, surprisingly, I get up early that morning, couldn't sleep, to see a message from Walmart saying my package has been shipped, it'll be arriving today.
Yeah.
I'm going, huh?
Today? Like, it originally said it was going to arrive, like, Monday or
It was going to arrive on Thursday.
Thursday. Oh, yeah, just like my package from Amazon.
Or, no, mine was going to arrive on Wednesday, yours was going to arrive on Thursday.
That's right, yeah, that's right.
So, I'm like, okay, I've got to track this and watch for it. I set up the text alerts.
Yep.
I'm checking every so often. You know, we finally have some breakfast. He does at least come out and get
I
food
did have
and
even though I was sick, my energy just wasn't there, but I did have an appetite, so I...
So he had dinner the night before, and he had breakfast the next day and dinner that night.
Right.
And he did listen, at least for half of the show.
Right, and then I just, like, put it on, I left it playing while I...
And I actually did the show wirelessly from the futon, which I hadn't done in eons.
So that way I wouldn't be disturbed in the bedroom, aka the studio. So that was nice. I got to rest in there and listen to. I got to request stuff on my own show, which was cool.
But with the delivery, all of a sudden I even dozed off at a point, but I'm keeping an ear open for notifications.
Yep.
And I get a notification that says package has been delivered, no signature requested.
Yep.
I'm like, okay, I got to get up and figure this out.
Because it was sent here, and getting packages here can be a challenge sometimes.
Especially if it's delivered by FedEx or UPS.
Yep.
And this was sent by FedEx.
Yep.
So I use Ira at this point. I'm letting him rest.
Yes.
And there wasn't outside the door. So I checked the mailboxes. There was a package for a neighbor from Amazon, but it certainly wasn't mine.
Not yours, definitely.
I checked inside the mailbox. There's something, there's a slip of paper, but it's nothing important.
Right.
So then I go to the stairs in front of the building.
Yep, right out
And there's
front.
an envelope on the bottom step.
And thank God
I pick it up. We look at it for a minute. Oh, yes, it's to me. It has my name on it.
Yay.
Get back upstairs, open up. Sure enough, it's the Wreck-It Ralph DVD.
Yep. So
And
she got
so
lucky.
I get it all put away, do the show. We have dinner, relax. And then on Sunday night, doing dinner, he's feeling better and all that. We sit down and watch the movie.
Yep.
It was just as good as Ralph Breaks the Internet.
I thought so. Yes, I'm definitely going to put that in my digital collection. Probably here in a few days.
Actually, it's already in it. Remember?
Oh, and iTunes. Yes, that's right. Duh.
Well, no. I mean, we ripped the disc.
Oh, yeah, right. I meant in my like Voodoo and stuff.
Oh, right. So we enjoy that. Then on New Year's Eve, we get up. It was mostly a quiet day for the most part.
Pretty much, yeah. It was nice.
And but I had made him a promise a while back.
Right.
Because I found out he likes Hawaiian pizza.
Yes.
And I said, at some point I'm going to get it for you from Liberty Pizza because he loves Liberty
It's just
Pizza.
nice because it's right here and it's just wonderful. So
So
we had decided a few weeks ago, I think, that we would do it on
I
New
even
Year's
told
Eve.
my parents, don't include us in New Year's Eve plans. We're doing our own thing.
Right, and we did. And she got the pizza on
And
New
curly
Year's
fries.
Eve and the curly fries.
And cans of Pepsi.
And
I
as
even went down to get it because...
Right, it was easier to go down and get it rather than just try to have it delivered because they were busy. Everybody had the same idea that we did, and we should have known better. And but we got it, and
then he got to watch Rockin' New Year's Eve live.
yes, and that's the first time I've ever done that. I mean, I've watched it before, but watching it when it really happens instead of pre-recorded, kind of neat to be able to say that, And that's where we are now, and we're beginning 2019, off to a good start. And as far as my Virginia plans, we don't know yet. I'll be in the next few days. I will be contacting my people over there to see what they want to do, and just playing things by ear. As far as what my plans are for this year, well, I'm hoping to maybe attend one of the conventions. No telling what's going to happen this year. I as you might remember, I don't even try to predict my year anymore. I think I gave up on that a couple of years ago. Because I certainly didn't think I'd be sitting here in Pittsfield, Massachusetts today on this 1st of January, 2019. I did not think I was still going to be on the... basically, my adventures from September 4th are ongoing right now. They may continue to be ongoing.
It could be interesting.
They could be permanent.
It could be interesting if he's here for the rest of his life. It would be very interesting if I'm the one who had to speak at his funeral. I can see the eulogy. It all started with just a simple trip to the East Coast. It wasn't going to be very long.
Right.
And
And then... God, that would be amusing. And then... here we are now, 50, 60 years later. Oh, God. Well, anyway, so that's the year in review, folks. I don't think I missed anything from there. There was, there were personal issues that I'm not going to go into here.
And same, this was for him, so I won't get into my stuff.
Right. But there was,
we will start the day later on with a nice, leftover pizza.
Yes, we're going to do that. And
a lovely dinner at my folks that will consist of ham, baked beans, black-eyed peas, and cabbage.
And of that, I'll have the ham, baked beans, and cabbage.
And of that, I'll have the ham, black-eyed peas, and cabbage.
All right. And then, it should be a nice night. And, yeah, we'll just take it from there. Just take it a day at a time and enjoy life to the fullest. I hope everybody has sat through this wonderful review. And we'll see everybody throughout the year, hopefully. But definitely we'll catch you again next year when hopefully I'll have a ton more stuff to report.
And by next year, we'll have to be very careful what words we say on it.
Yes, we won't be able to say, if I'm here next year, we won't be able to say Alexa certainly.
And
possibly I might not be able to say computer either, because I'm still thinking about possibly getting me an Echo Dot, because I have enough to do it. I loaded up my Amazon account with some funds a while back, so I've got enough money to get me an Echo Dot, should I choose to do that. And I'll probably get me there's a new 3rd generation Dot that just came out. And Vicky just got one, by the way. My friend Vicky that I visited in Florida, she just got one. She demonstrated it to me earlier, and it sounds pretty good. So I might have to snag that. Not hers, but, one of my own. I could go snag hers. Hey, Vicky, I can come visit you and just pretend like I'm coming.
To steal one of her dots?
Right.
I can see that. That'll be the last time you go to her place. You stole my Amazon Dot.
You stole my Amazon Dot, and I reset it and made it mine. No, I won't do that. I'm too nice. So who knows what's going to happen next year? Will I go to any conventions this year? That could also be in the pipeline.
Will he be doing his next review from DJ Solak's Tiny Mansion?
Will I be doing it from there? Will I be doing it from Florida? Will I be doing it from back in California?
Will I even be with him?
Right.
Because it could be interesting if we find an apartment in Florida and move.
Right. Where will we be? Will we go our separate ways? Will we remain here? Right now, I don't even have the answers, let alone anybody else. So we'll see what happens, folks. And as the time progresses, stay tuned to my YouTube channel, my Twitter, my Facebook, and any other ways you have of contacting me to find out all the details. So from today, from Pittsfield, Massachusetts.
Welcome to 2019.
Welcome to 2019. Happy New Year. If you drank a lot, you better have got home with a designated driver. And have a nice year. Bye.